What's up, guys? I'm Rosti, former Rank 1 legend, HCT finalist, and top coach for Gamer Sensei. Welcome to the Road to Worlds video series, brought to you by Blizzard Entertainment and Gamer Sensei. In this video, we're going to take a look at the rise of ShtanUdachi, who has the singular distinction of making plays that most people don't even think about. Specifically, we're going to look at 3 critical games where Shtan showcases the next level of thinking that sets him apart from other pros and earn him the title of Winter Champion. So let's get right into the defining Hearthstone plays that earned Shtan his spot in the World Championship. The first pro play by Shtan we're going to take a look at is in Game 3 of the Winter Championship quarterfinals. We've got Shtan on the Reno Lock up against Lovely Chook's Miracle Rogue. It's turn 5, and Shtan is in a pretty bad spot. Most players here, they would just soulfire the Tomb Pillager, and that seems really good because of how perfectly it lines up. But instead, Shtan's going to decide to drop the Doomsayer and Earthen Ring Farseer this turn. We're so used to making these autopilot plays like soulfiring Tomb Pillager when we see it, that when a rare situation comes up where it's actually wrong to do that, we miss it. But not Shtan. By playing the Doomsayer, he forces Lovely Chook to have an out to it, and if Lovely Chook does have an out to the Doomsayer, it's pretty unlikely he can also kill the Farseer in the same turn. So worst case, Shtan can just trade his Farseer into the Tomb Pillager and then Mortal Coil it to kill it. This line of play lets him save Soulfire for later, and that's incredibly strong. Soulfire is one of the most crucial cards in the Warlock Rogue matchup, and preserving in hand is such a big edge. So speaking of Soulfire, let's follow the story of Shtan's Soulfire just a little bit longer. Let's take a look just a few turns later in the same game, turn 7, and now Shtan finds the perfect target for that Soulfire he saved earlier. It's so intuitive to Soulfire the Wilfred, mainly because it protects your Emperor on board, and you know, it's basically the perfect curve with 1 mana remaining. But Shtan makes a very disciplined play, and he straight up passes the turn. What? You'd think Shtan would want to protect this Emperor as much as he can, but Shtan realizes that, based on the cards that Lovely Chook has played so far, it's very likely that he has either Sap or Eviscerate in hand. So Shtan values his Soulfire to kill off an Auctioneer more than to protect his Emperor, since Emperor is likely going to die anyway. Shtan has such a good grasp of the matchup, he knows exactly how he wants to divvy up his removal card by card against the Rogue, because if he uses the Soulfire and then Lovely Chook plays Auctioneer, plus a way to deal with the Emperor, the game's just going to spiral out of control. This might seem like it's a bit too conservative, but just the opposite. Watch. All the way on turn 9, Shtan finally finds the perfect turn to use his Soulfire. He develops a, you could say, gigantic board, and then he's going to clear off Lovely Chook's only minion. Thanks to Shtan's incredible patience, he's going to clench out the win. Now, let's follow Shtan into the semi-finals of the Winter Championships. It's going to be Shtan's Reno Mage facing off against Samuel Cao's Jade Shaman, and as early as turn 1 of Game 1, Shtan already has to start making the tough calls. He's facing down a turn 1 Tunnel Trog with no way to remove it this turn. For most players, this is a harsh, but necessary pass. Not for Shtan. He starts off this game already making calculations, Arcane Blasting the Tunnel Trog to drop it to 1 health. This is a super risky play because if it goes as planned, Shtan can ping off the Tunnel Trog next turn. But if Samuel Cao decides to Hero Power and then rolls a Healing Totem, Shtan just wasted one of his most powerful removal spells and is going to have to use another card just to remove this Trog. But I really like Shtan's play here, because he's choosing the line that's going to win him the game the most often. If this scenario were to come up 1,000 times, this is the play that would win him the majority of those games. Because not only does Samuel have to commit to Hero Powering, but he also has to hit the 1 in 4 Healing Totem. And let's look past that. This is more than just some statistical calculation, because if Samuel had something like Totem Golem, then you either delay the Totem Golem, which is great, or you still get to ping off the Trog next turn, which you're really happy about. So through tight technical play, Shtan effectively counters one of the most threatening turn 1 Shaman plays. Let's leap ahead to Game 3 of the Winter Championship semifinals against Samuel Cao, where now we find Shtan in a really scary position. Down 0-2. We've got Shtan's trusty Reno Mage battling it out against Tempo Rogue on turn 9. To complete the nightmare, Samuel Cao just chose to Cold-Blooded Swashbuckler, but instead of trading into the Emperor Thorsun, he decided to go face. So because of the way Samuel Cao played his last turn, Shtan knows that his opponent has the Leroy combo in hand and can kill him next turn. So the only out in Shtan's deck to the Leroy lethal is an Ice Block. So the right play here is to Arcane Intellect and hope to draw it, right? Not quite. Shtan decides to drop the Cabal Courier instead. I love this play. Imagine the pressure Shtan is under here, an extremely unfavored situation after a streak of losses, but he still has the composure to avoid autopilot and realize that based on Samuel's board state, Cabal Courier actually has a higher chance of saving him. So now Shtan's got a Cabal Courier and a Dream, because with Arcane Intellect, he gets 2 draws to find exactly Ice Block, whereas with Cabal Courier, there are so many Mage Secrets you can get, taunts, or heal cards that Shtan can discover as outs. Sure, it's totally possible that the next card in Shtan's deck is Ice Block and Courier whiffs, but it's more likely to be the other way around. And Shtan nails it! The Courier discovers Ice Block, and Shtan just has lethal in hand for next turn to take his first game of the match. Now, let's follow Shtan to Game 2 of the finals of the Winter Championships. Shtan's piloting Miracle Rug up against Frozen's Dragon Priest. It's turn 5, and Shtan isn't in a great position, but he does have some solid options, including trading his Tomb Pillager and his Dagger to get rid of the Draconid Operative, and then just hoping that he finds Gadgets and Auctioneer. But instead, Shtan plays Counterfeit Coin to trigger the combo on his Coldblood, and then throws all his minions at Frozen's face and conceals them. Whoa. Shtan kind of realizes that he's basically only holding dead cards in his hand, so his position is much worse than it actually looks, and he needs to start thinking about what realistic ways are there for him to win. And it comes down to waiting for Auctioneer or just going all face right now. In both scenarios, you probably aren't beating Dragonfire Potion, so you're not really factoring that in. You just have to hope that Frozen doesn't have it. And Shtan recognizes his narrow but best chance of winning and takes it by going all face. This play is also extremely strong because if you draw Auctioneer next turn, you can still conceal it by trading off your Tomb Pillager for a coin, and if you don't draw your Auctioneer, then you just stick to your face game plan and hope. And this line of play works out exactly as Shtan planned. After identifying his best chance to win, he goes for it and gets rewarded, tying up the match 1-1. Now, we're in the 7th and final game of the Winter Championship. It all comes down to this. Shtan and Frozen are tied, 3-3. The winner of this next game becomes the Winter Champion. Shtan is on Reno Mage up against Frozen's Reno Warlock, and we're going to pick things up all the way on turn 12. So, Frozen just played a Doomsayer, and the intuitive choice for Shtan here is to just let Frozen's Doomsayer go off. That way, he can preserve his resources and removal, but more importantly, Reno was just used, so you can continue applying pressure to Frozen's life total. But Shtan decides to polymorph Reno and then kill the Doomsayer with both of his minions instead. This is a very interesting play. So because Shtan has so much damage in his hand, he could choose to let the Doomsayer go off and start pushing face. Instead, Shtan asks himself, how am I going to lose this game when I'm already so far ahead? And the answer is, if Doomsayer goes off, then all tempo is going to be thrown back to Frozen, and that means that Shtan is going to have to start dealing with whatever Frozen plays instead of the other way around. So Shtan realizes he's not really in a rush. If he has the board, there's not much that Frozen can do. Reno's gone. Eventually, Shtan is going to find Alexstrasza or generate enough fireballs off Archmage Antonidas. So there's no reason to let the Doomsayer go off. It's preserving resources that aren't needed and giving Frozen an out to win this game. Situations where you're really far ahead are actually huge skill tests in Hearthstone. Identifying the tiny outs that you can give your opponent and closing them off are the mark of top pros like Shtan. And in fact, Shtan's play does exactly this, and it's going to earn him the title of Winter Champion. As we saw throughout Shtan's games, his patience under pressure allowed him to preserve outs in otherwise unwinnable situations. I mean, I'm still in awe of that Soulfire hold. That was ridiculous. But that's the type of long-term strategic planning that Shtan showcased, thinking light years ahead in each matchup to know the precise value of every card in the current turn. Next level knowledge like that separates champions like Shtan from mere Hearthstone mortals, and that's the reason Shtan is now the Winter Champion and earned himself a spot in the World Championships. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Gamer Sensei video. If you want to get live coaching from a pro like me, then head over to gamersensei.com and take your play to the next level. What are you waiting for? Be a winner today.